Something is happening right now behind the curtains of Formula One, a legal battle that could rewrite history, a case that the FIA hoped would never return, and a scandal that the world buried until one man decided he would no longer stay quiet. And before we dive into this investigation, I need you to tell me something. Where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments, because the truth we're about to uncover is global. Now, let's begin. Felipe Massa, a man who came within seconds of becoming Formula One World Champion in 2008, has officially taken the FIA and Formula One management to court. Not over points, not over fame, but over justice. And the reason behind this lawsuit is not new. It's something Formula One tried desperately to downplay, cover, minimize, and move on from. A scandal born in the shadows of that night race in Singapore, the now infamous Crashgate. But today, it's not 2008 anymore. The world has changed. The evidence has resurfaced. And for the first time in 16 years, the system is being challenged. This isn't about a trophy. This is about manipulation. This is about negligence. This is about a truth that Formula One tried to erase. We go back to the start, not to Crashgate itself, but to the moment that reopened the wound. Bernie Ecclestone's interview. The former F1 boss stated on record that the FIA and Formula One management knew back in 2008 that Renault had manipulated the Singapore Grand Prix. He said they should have canceled the race. He said they should have taken action. He said they chose not to protect the sport. His words ignited a global explosion because they confirmed the one thing Felipe Massa always suspected. He had been robbed, not by another driver, not by a team, but by the system itself. If the race was canceled, as it should have been, Massa would have become world champion instead of Lewis Hamilton. And suddenly, this wasn't a conspiracy theory anymore. It was testimony. It was confession. It was negligence admitted by the man at the top. But then, the story got darker. When the lawsuit was filed, F1 and the FIA tried to get it thrown out. They argued it was too late. They argued that championships are immutable. They argued that the case should not proceed. Why? Because what's at stake is not just a trophy. It's the credibility of the sport. It's the liability of the organizations. It's the financial consequences of a decision kept secret for over a decade. And now the British High Court has ruled that at least part of Massa's case will continue, which means something extremely dangerous for F1. They will be forced to open documents. They will be forced to reveal emails. They will be forced to explain their silence. Behind the scenes, officials from the FIA and FOM are panicking, because if the court uncovers that the organizations protected their own interests knowingly, while allowing a manipulated race to stand, then the entire sport's governance structure could collapse. This lawsuit is not just a legal case. It is a bomb, a very real, very political, very destructive bomb. And Felipe Massa is no longer fighting alone. His lawyers see the case not as a sports dispute, but as a consumer safety scandal, a breach of duty, and a failure of regulatory oversight, which is why the world is watching. Because if Felipe Massa wins, even partially, the entire narrative of Formula One's untouchable rule system will be shattered. And that is where this investigation truly begins.
Let's go deeper, much deeper, into the core of Felipe Massa's legal case. Because what is happening now in court is not simply a re-examination of a race. It is an autopsy of a cover-up, a forensic reconstruction of decisions made behind closed doors. And every new detail that emerges makes the situation darker, heavier, and far more deliberate than anyone imagined 16 years ago. To understand the magnitude of this moment, we must revisit the timeline the FIA never wanted the world to see. Not the public timeline, the real one. The one filled with silences, emails ignored, secrets buried, and decisions that had nothing to do with fairness and everything to do with political protection. Crashgate happened on September 28, 2008. The race was manipulated, that is a fact. Nelson Piquet Jr.'s later confession confirmed it. Renault orchestrated a crash on purpose to manipulate the safety car and influence the outcome of the race. But the truth becomes explosive when you look at when the FIA became aware of the manipulation. You see, the official story, the one repeated for years, says the FIA learned of the cheating only in mid-2009, when Piquet had already left the team. But documents, testimonies, and even Bernie Ecclestone's own public statements contradict this narrative. According to Massa's legal team, the FIA and F1 management had strong suspicions of race manipulation still during the 2008 season. In other words, they knew the Singapore Grand Prix might have been fraudulent while the championship was still open, while Massa was still fighting for the title. And instead of acting, they stayed silent. This is not just a failure. This is a violation of their own regulatory obligations. Under FIA rules, any suspicion of race manipulation triggers an immediate investigation, not later, not next season, not when it's convenient, immediately. And yet the FIA delayed. They stalled. They pushed the problem forward, hoping it would fade, hoping it could be handled quietly, hoping the scandal would die before it was born. But scandals don't die in silence. They grow. When Piquet Jr. finally spoke in 2009, after losing his seat and breaking under the pressure that had been placed on him, the FIA was forced to acknowledge what they had known all along. But by that time, the season was long over. The championship had been awarded. The television deals were secure. The political storm had passed. And the FIA presented the world with a simple, convenient solution. Punish Renault, ban Briatore, move on, and pretend the championship had not been touched. But Massa's lawsuit challenges that version of history. It argues that the FIA had a duty, a legal and moral duty, to cancel the race immediately when suspicions first surfaced. Because if Singapore 2008 is removed from the standings, the entire championship flips. Massa becomes world champion. This is the core of the legal war now unfolding in the United Kingdom. Massa's lawyers are not arguing about points. They are arguing about negligence. Negligence that cost Felipe not just a title, but millions of dollars in sponsorships, contracts, branding deals, historical legacy, and the value of a lifetime achievement. But now let's talk about the darkest part, the cover-up. What the lawsuit is revealing is not just that the race was manipulated. We all know that. The real horror is that the governing body of Formula One may have intentionally chosen to stay silent for the sake of business. Imagine the fear inside FIA headquarters at the time. Imagine the chaos if the world found out mid-season that a race had been fixed. Imagine the sponsors pulling out. Imagine broadcasters demanding refunds. Imagine the political war between teams. Imagine the lawsuits, the headlines, the absolute destruction of the sport's credibility. And so, according to the lawsuit, they chose the path that protected the system, not the athletes. They waited, they delayed, they postponed, they buried, because the truth was too expensive. And now, 16 years later, the truth is knocking on the door with the force of a demolition hammer. The British High Court has ruled that part of Massa's lawsuit is legitimate and must continue. This is monumental. It means the judge agrees that the evidence presented deserves judicial examination. It means the FIA and F1 management will have to reveal documents they've hidden for more than a decade. Emails, internal communications, meeting notes, private memos, statements never released, even conversations between Ecclestone, Mosley, and FIA leadership. Everything is on the table. And inside the paddock, everyone knows when old secrets start coming out, new ones follow. Some insiders claim there were disagreements inside the FIA. Some say Mosley wanted to act but was pressured not to. Some say FOM executives feared financial collapse. Some say engineers were aware of the manipulation weeks before Piquet confessed. This trial might expose all of it. And here is what truly terrifies Formula One today. If the court concludes the FIA acted irresponsibly, or worse, intentionally, the consequences will go beyond 2008. It will set a precedent. It will open the door for other drivers to challenge past injustices. It will open the door for teams to revisit penalties. It will open the door for sponsors to sue F1 for misrepresentation. This is not just a lawsuit. This is a threat to the entire structure of Formula One governance. Crashgate is no longer a scandal from the past. It is a weapon pointed directly at the heart of the sport's leadership. And Felipe Massa is holding that weapon with both hands. The question is not whether something will be revealed. The question is how much. And when the truth finally hits daylight, Formula One may never be the same.
Now we reach the part that Formula One has feared for 16 years. Not the part about the crash, not the part about Piquet's confession, not even the part about the FIA delaying justice. No, what terrifies Formula One today is what comes next, the consequences. Because if Felipe Massa wins even a fraction of this lawsuit, the repercussions will echo through every corner of the sport. This is not just about rewriting a moment in history. This is about tearing open the seams of a system that has always operated with one unspoken rule: protect the sport at all costs, even if it means sacrificing the truth. Let's start with the immediate impact. If the court determines that the FIA acted negligently or intentionally concealed information, then the Singapore Grand Prix of 2008 becomes radioactive, legally contaminated. Its results become questionable. Its validity collapses. And if that race collapses, everything connected to it collapses too. The championship points change. The team's final positions change. Contract clauses change. Bonus payments change. Sponsor valuations change. Driver legacies change. It's not just a race result. It's a domino that sits at the foundation of a billion-dollar house. And once that domino falls, the entire structure shakes. Now imagine the financial fallout. Sponsors who invested millions might claim they were misled. Teams that lost points might demand compensation. Brands might sue for reputational damage. Drivers might argue that historical penalties or advantages were unfair. And the FIA, the very organization meant to preserve fairness, would be exposed as the source of instability. But the consequences go deeper, much deeper. Because if the court establishes that a governing body like the FIA can be held accountable for hidden decisions, then every controversial moment in Formula One becomes a potential legal minefield. Every strange penalty, every suspicious safety car, every inexplicable steward decision, every sudden rule interpretation that changed a race, all of them could come under scrutiny.
Massa's case opens the door not just for one man, but for an entire generation of injustices that fans always suspected but could never prove. It legitimizes the idea that the FIA is not infallible, that it can fail, it can hide, and it can violate its own rulebook. And if that truth is recognized in court, the consequences will be historic. Formula One's greatest fear is not the scandal itself, it is the precedent. Because as soon as one driver successfully challenges an old decision, the entire structure of championships are final collapses. And Formula One cannot survive without that rule. Sponsors would never accept adjustable results. Broadcasters would never risk unstable outcomes. Teams would drown in lawsuits. The sport would descend into chaos. This is why the FIA and FOM fought so aggressively to stop the lawsuit at the very beginning. They weren't protecting Lewis Hamilton. They weren't protecting Renault. They weren't protecting the 2008 season. They were protecting the entire business model of Formula One. Because if a judge forces them to open the vault of secrets, the public may discover how many decisions were made for political, financial, or commercial convenience, and not for sporting integrity. Now let's talk about something even darker, something that insiders whisper about but never openly say. Crashgate might not have been the only case mishandled. There are suspicions, not confirmed, not proven, but whispered, that other investigations were delayed or softened in the name of protecting the image of the sport. Strange penalties, unexpected mid-season rule changes, conflicts of interest in steward meetings, technical oversights ignored until the end of the championship, infractions forgiven quietly without public explanation. People inside the paddock know more than they can say, and Massa's lawsuit threatens to drag all those ghosts into the light. Because once documents begin to surface, once executives testify under oath, once emails are revealed, hidden patterns could emerge, patterns the FIA never wanted exposed. This is why the paddock is nervous, not just for Massa, not just for Singapore 2008, but for what else might come out when the box is opened. And then we reach the question the world is asking right now. What does Felipe Massa actually want? He has said publicly that he is not seeking the championship. He knows the court cannot rewrite the history books, but he is fighting for something far more dangerous: accountability, responsibility, transparency. In legal terms, he is fighting for damages, millions in financial loss, emotional distress, and career impact. But at a deeper level, he is fighting to expose a truth that was buried for 16 years. A truth that the world suspected. A truth that insiders whispered. A truth that Bernie Ecclestone accidentally confirmed. Felipe Massa is demanding that the FIA and Formula One answer the one question they never wanted to confront. Why did you stay silent? And once the court forces them to answer, nothing will ever be the same. This is bigger than 2008, bigger than Massa, bigger than Hamilton, bigger than Renault. This is about the integrity of the sport itself. Crashgate wasn't just a race manipulation. It was the moment Formula One's image became more important than Formula One's truth. And now, finally, the bill has come due. As we move deeper into this lawsuit, as hearings escalate, as evidence is revealed, as testimonies shake the paddock, one thing is clear: the darkest chapter of Formula One is no longer in the past. It is unfolding right now. And the next months may reveal secrets the FIA hoped would remain buried forever. If you want to follow every twist in this story, if you want every hidden detail, every leaked document, every political move exposed, then do one thing. subscribe to the channel right now, because what's coming next will be even darker than Crashgate.